Welcome to Laying Fallow. I'm Donna Von Bruning. Today I speak with Gavin Hepner. Gavin attended Glenbard West High School in the suburbs of Chicago. After losing the last of his senior year, he headed to Waco, Texas to play baseball at a junior college with dreams of playing for a D1 school. Today he is a senior at the University of Georgia and will graduate in May of 2025 with a degree in sports management. Tell me what happened for COVID for your high school. Like, did you guys have a graduation? What happened?
So it was like a virtual graduation. So like they literally played a slideshow. We took pictures at home and it was like a YouTube live video. Like we didn't have a graduation, anything like that.
Did you go to public or private?
Public.
Okay.
It was a pretty big public school in Chicago. So like west suburbs, but I can't remember if they did a graduation and I was out of town. Like I think they may have done it in like July or like what, but at this point I was like, I don't
care.
Yeah. And I was like, I think if they did do one, I was on vacation because I would have gone but I'm pretty sure they didn't. And then school, like when it all kind of happened, like it was weird too, is we had like online school, but then like, so the first couple weeks it was like, not even first couple weeks. First couple of days, we were kind of doing it, and not even the teachers really knew what to do. I mean, as anyone did. But then all the kids started to learn, like, that their grades couldn't decrease. So, like, whatever your grade was going in, it could only improve. So basically, like, I was in my second semester senior year. My classes weren't too hard. And, like, there was maybe, 4 or 5 weeks. My grades couldn't change very much anyways.
Yeah.
I was either at A's in most of them, or they couldn't get any better. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. So everyone just kind of stopped doing school.
Did they give you a choice? Like, Grace went to public school, and they said at this point, like they just decided one day, at this point you can keep attending or not. And your grades can only improve, but they can't get worse.
Not really.
So then they give you a choice. So like nobody went to school.
Like it was Zoom calls. Like we had the Zoom and they're like, this is what time you do this class and all. Like it was kind of similar to our normal schedule, just very brief. So like I was still playing baseball at the time. I mean, I was like practicing. So the one I can always remember is like my math class. Me and my friend were at the batting cage, and I would just join in and like talk to my teacher just because I liked the teacher, but I didn't like.
Or you weren't going to do anything.
Yeah, and I just want to say hi because I like missed the class and I missed all of them, but we weren't doing school really.
How big was your school? What was your graduating class?
500.
Oh, so big.
Yeah, I mean, we have like 2,200 kids, roughly, maybe.
Got it.
Depending on the years.
So, were you on spring break when it happened? Like,
no, it was the end of January, right? No, it was almost St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, it was March 12th.
We had just started our baseball season because like baseball, like spring, it's cold. Like, I mean, you can't get outside until March in Chicago. So we were at practice, and it was about to be St. Patrick's Day weekend. And keep in mind, this is senior year. So this was like the first time I was old enough to kind of do something for St. Patrick's Day. So we were planning on going to the city, whether it was and go to the parade, just kind of hang out around there.
I've been there.
Yeah, I had never been. So I was like, this will be cool. And then we were getting out of practice, like in our, like, what do you call it? Like our gym. We had a huge gym with like 4 basketball courts downstairs. And that was where we practiced inside. We were getting out of that, and they like sent the email that like school's canceled, or the parade was canceled first, and then we're like, oh no, like that's not. And then later that day was school's canceled for indefinitely until we hear more. So we were like, oh, okay, so we have at least the next couple of days off, and then that kind of transitioned into what it was. But
so then, how long before you found out like there was no prom, no any of that?
I believe prom was in like a couple weeks from that. Like I can't remember how the dates went down now exactly, but it was all relatively quickly. Yeah. Like once one thing fell, like it all just went.
It all just went.
Yeah.
Like what was that like for you guys? Were people devastated?
It was kind of a mix of both because like it didn't hit us I don't know, like take COVID for what it was.
Yeah.
Like nothing changed in my daily life other than I wasn't doing school. Like it's not like I was like seeing people get really sick and passing away. Yeah, I was hearing about it. Like, so it was weird because nothing really changed, but everything changed. So I didn't think it was that bad. Like my friends and I would go we'd go to the parking lot nearby and hang out and do it. Like we were doing our best relatively. And it was fun because like we all just got to hang out more. And but it sucked for like baseball. Like I really was looking forward to my.
Tell me about baseball.
I'll preface it by saying I can't remember if I was committed or not. I was going to play baseball in college. That was my plan. Like and I think I was committed to play at McLennan as a junior college in Texas at the time. But my goal was to go from there to a Division I school at some point. And I was kind of hoping to either leverage my senior year stats with that onto my wherever the next landing spot would be. So that was my biggest regret, or like I think that I feel like I missed out on from that was my baseball season. Like quarantine was odd, but I actually kind of enjoyed it because like we just played video games, we talked on the phone and hung out in briefs, like different spots. So like it's more memorable than just like your normal hangout. Like you go sit on your friend's couch and do whatever. But so like you go screwing around outside and you go biking. It's like, I mean, that's stuff I remember being fun. So like quarantine as itself for us wasn't that bad, but the biggest part for me that I was mad about was the baseball part.
So one of the things I ask people is, you guys lost a lot of the traditions, right? That graduation.
Yeah.
So that being said, for you, do you feel like your college graduation is going to mean more to you? Or are you kind of like whatever with traditions?
I'm a little bit like whatever, but that's just kind of how I've always been. I don't think that's COVID specific. I think I would feel like I'm obviously going to be very upset that I'm done with college, but I don't think like graduation will be the thing that gets me necessarily. Like, I think it'll just be more like the being around kids and like all my like friends and stuff as much, and knowing that I have to go into the real world and be a productive human rather than
have fun.
Yeah.
Just have fun all the time.
Yeah.
So the thing that I found that's most interesting for you guys is it's not that you lost graduation. That's a bummer and it is sad. But like your launch year was totally messed up.
Yeah.
Like that year that you go and you meet all new people and you try new things. Tell me what that was like for you, because...
Well, so that's actually kind of part of why I wanted to do junior college and kind of partially how I ended up here and like why I'm Grayson's age. But
right. Back up for 1 second. Yeah. Tell me, because I'm going to have to go back and... You're from Chicago. You went to school in Chicago. Now you attend the University of Georgia.
Yes.
Give me that path.
Okay. So I started, obviously, Chicago High School. My freshman year was in Waco, Texas, McLennan in baseball. And so my thought process was, again, like I'm going to play. I'm going to see if that takes me, if I can get an opportunity to play at a Division I school. That was always my dream. I wasn't sure if I was capable physically or not, but that was what I wanted to do. And I felt like I was good enough to do it. I just wasn't given the opportunity or hadn't been seen by the right, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I did that. I ended up getting hurt. I hurt my shoulder. So that puts me at, this is 2022 now.
So you played for a year in Texas?
Played for a full year and I was there. I didn't end up playing really because I was rehabbing most of the time and just...
When did you get hurt?
I got hurt a couple times. Like the first time was in the fall and then I tried to come back and then the same thing happened again. I was just like, I can't. I was going to get surgery, but then I get this surgery, it might not work because it's a nerve thing. So like they were like, it could work, it could not, or like you can leave it and just hope it goes away. So I ended up not doing the surgery and stopped playing because my thought was, I don't want to go through the trauma of a surgery when I'm not even set on playing again anymore.
Yeah. What position did you play?
I was a middle infielder, so second shortstop. And then I kind of played a little bit of outfield just like in college while I was just seeing if I could play wherever. I was fast, so that kind of helped. But yeah, and I mean, between rehabbing and doing all that stuff, I kind of like lost the love of the game too. And
I was going to say, what did all that feel like?
It's just a lot. Like it's 5 hours minimum a day of practices. And then you're on top of that, you're rehabbing and like your coach doesn't really understand what's going on. Like it's a junior college. It's not like the trainers are like high tech. So it's like, they know like I'm hurt, but he doesn't know like, you know what I mean? Like
he's not involved.
I don't have a broken arm, like you can't see it. It's a nerve thing. So.
Got it. And he's not involved in your rehab.
Yeah, he's not helping me through it. So it's very like, it's stressful because you want to be back and like you want to prove that you can still do it. But at the same time, it's really hard it just becomes more of a stressor than it does something you grew up loving and enjoying. So that was where I was kind of torn because like right now, if you ask me, like I would love to go play, but would I want to go through that again? No, like the playing or the team part of it.
Okay, so you made a decision not to have surgery.
And then, so my options were I try and transfer into the spring of that year and like into wherever. And I ended up staying home and working like where I had worked in high school it's a Park District gym. And I did that. I helped manage the gym. I personal trained. I got certified for all that. And I did that for a year and took some classes at our community college at home. And then I didn't take because it was still COVID. So I was like, I don't really want to go into a 4-year school like Georgia and pay $30,000 to be online still. So that was kind of where I was like, I'll just stick here and see how the next year progresses. That year everything kind of started to lighten up with COVID and everything. And I looked to transfer, I believe it was the winter almost. And I was between Wisconsin, like Texas, and Georgia. Because I liked being in Texas. I just didn't want to. So those were kind of the three I was all interested in. I had friends at all three. And that's why I didn't want to go someplace new. And at the time, I was like, it's probably 2.5, maybe 3 years. I wasn't sure what credits they would take. And so I was like, I'd rather would not go in new, especially still with COVID. So I ended up getting into Georgia pretty much a week after I submitted my application, like very quickly. And I hadn't even finished my other 2 applications. So I kind of just like, I'll just do that. I wanted to go there anyways. Like it's closer than Texas. And I have friends that go here. And it's like, that's where I want to be. And this was right before they won the Natties. So the first one. So I was like, it's going to be really hard to like say no to that. Because I ended up going down to the Georgia for that game and it was awesome. So yeah, I think I made the right choices.
So was the journey, and I already know the answer to this question, but I ask it anyway. When you were like a junior at the beginning of your senior year and you were thinking about the next 4 years, was the journey to get to this place or college at all like you thought it was going to be?
Well, no. Like if you would ask me that,
I should be playing in the major league right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would have guessed I would be at a smaller Division I school playing baseball, probably. I don't want to say Dayton's a small school, but like somewhere.
No, but
like that kind of like, if Dayton had offered me to play, I would have 100% said yes, and that's where I would have ended up in somewhere like that, or like a Wichita State. Not even those are small schools, but like
I know
a mid-major, mid-major,
Big Ten or SEC.
I wasn't planning on going to Tennessee to play baseball. So that would have been my thought process then, but yeah, it wasn't out of the water, like where I am now, because I thought I wanted to go to Georgia out of high school. Like I didn't end up applying here, I don't think. But I applied to normal schools, like out of high school anyways, just
in case.
Like see where I got in. But I didn't, I knew I wanted to play baseball then. So that, it's different than I would have guessed, yeah.
We're going to switch gears a little bit here. Talk to me about loss. What was your greatest loss over the past 4 years?
It'd probably be like any loss. Like
anything at all. It could be a person, part of your personality, something, whatever.
It'd probably be my cousin. He was my age, like he's 6 months younger than I was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he overdosed, actually.
Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. I mean, he kind of dealt with it throughout his whole life a little bit. It was a really sad story, actually. He like had back problems from football and like he like lifting and that kind of thing. And then surgeries kind of got him hooked that way. And it was a rough experience for him and the family, I think. So that was tough. And it's sad for me. And obviously it's a rough spot for the entire family, but it more upsets me how it affected my cousin's family. And like, cause I have 2 girl cousins, like, so they're his sisters. Yes. And that kills me seeing them like that way. Because after middle school or kind of into high school is when it started to get bad. And he wasn't really as close with us or me, but like he was still around them and when he was around. So it affects them a lot more than it did me. Because I mean, by the end, he was living in California. He wasn't even really around, but it's still really sad to see them that way. Because I love all of them still. But
first cousins?
Yeah.
First cousins. So, and how old are your sisters?
The older one is a sophomore in college.
Okay.
The younger one is in sophomore in high school. Maybe a junior in high school.
So he and at least one sister are more close in age to you.
Yes.
Mhm.
So my siblings, I have a younger sister, younger brother. They're both the same age as
Got it.
cousins, and I'm the same age.
So that makes sense.
All within 6 months of each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did that teach you about grief? Your own grief, watching your family?
I mean, the biggest thing I learned, I mean, I'll tail this into another, I don't even know if I told Nolan this. My dad had a stroke this past summer.
Oh,
and
no.
Yeah, he's okay now, which is thankfully, but it like this and that both just kind of taught me that life can come at you very fast, and it, like anything can change in a matter of seconds. So it's very important to be grateful for what you have and the people you have around you, and appreciative. This could be the last time you're with the people you love, and you never know. So that's kind of what I learned, and just taking in every moment and being appreciative, and kind of similar to COVID too. Like I don't remember the last thing I did in high school. So it's like, the last time you walked through the doors, you don't remember. Yeah. It makes perfect sense. When I was a little bit older than you, but my dad was 57 and had a heart attack and died on the golf course. So I totally get what you're saying. Like, it's, it's been a long time now, but like your whole life changes. So I'm sorry to hear about that. Your dad's doing good now? Yeah, it was really weird too. So, I mean,
your dad's got to be young.
He's 50. He just turned 50. And I was driving home from work. I worked kind of near the city. I was doing like interior design for a construction company. And
you were doing interior design for?
Well, it was like $20 an hour. So
okay.
And we were just like filling holes and like, but whatever.
Oh, okay. You weren't designing.
No,
you threw me there. It was like,
no. So I'm driving home, like, and my mom calls me and she's like, "Hey, so Dad just they think he had a stroke. He's on the way to the hospital now. Can you just meet us there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like, okay." And then, so obviously my mind starts thinking the worst. And
of course.
And it was just very like, you didn't know what to feel. And this was only, I can't even remember, a couple months after my cousin had passed too. So it was very rough because my aunt and uncle showed up too, because it's his sister. And and it was very concerning until we got to talk to him. But they luckily, like, he was just in CVS and just like not collapsed, like he was like mumbling. They thought he was drunk. They like, because he was trying to like pay and we like couldn't. It was very odd. Yeah. But
he's kind of in the right place.
I know, and like, just thankfully, a firefighter was right behind him, and he recognized what was going on right away and sat him down, and like but he couldn't talk, and he's like trying to, and they sent him to the hospital where one of the only stroke unit in the entire state was there, and they were able to like get it. He's completely fine.
Because you don't have a lot of time.
It's time, and like, he had a small blockage. They did like they removed it, and he was talking like that night. And I was like, I mean, obviously he was stuttering a little.
So happy
like,
for your family.
I know. And he was lifting his arms. I'm like, we were in shock because like we figured like something would not be great, but it was just crazy. Because and on that note, I don't know, like, ruin the tone and all too. But my neighbor, kind of our family friend too. Similar thing, like, he was walking the dog, like, he's in good shape, like my dad and this guy too, like, he's walking the dog and he just collapses, and that was it. He had like a blockage in the heart, and it's crazy how like that can change like that.
So in saying that, I kind of think you said this to me already, but what would you say the greatest lesson you've learned in the past 4 years is?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on a little bit, is just kind of obviously take one thing at a time, like, not try to get ahead of yourself, but also like take in every moment. Like, I mean, take one step at a time and be appreciative. I've really learned to, not that I was never, but I could see in the past times where I was unappreciative of my family, or at least I came off that way, whether I was or was, to my mom or to my dad. And I've really made a point to be more appreciative towards them, towards my friend, rather than whether I feel that way or not. Like, I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I know
what you mean.
I try to show it more than, even if I felt the same way before, I try to make a point to show it to them so that they understand this mutual feeling, rather than I close myself off. Even though I do love and care about them, I may have not showed it as much before, whereas now I try to make a point to show it because...
Right. Well, you're also a guy.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the biggest lesson I've learned is just take appreciative of the moment rather than.
Awesome. Let's switch gears a little bit again. Friendships. Mm-hmm. Okay. So normally you guys go off your freshman year, whatever you're doing, college, trade school, whatever, working, but your friend group changes.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys didn't have that opportunity. So my question is, do you feel like people held on a little bit too long to maybe their high school friends, or it cemented you guys together, or it didn't do that for you at all? You didn't notice it?
I don't know. I feel like as big as my high school sounds, like it's very small and it's kind of a tight-knit community. I'll take my friend group for an example first, but like my friends from high school I've known most of them since they were 5. I've been friends with these kids since like elementary soccer, and like that was kind of how we all started together. One's my next door neighbor, he still is, and these are all or 2 of them actually. These are all my best friends, and they still are. So I don't see us ever really like separating. I mean, even like 20 years from now, we may not communicate as much, but I don't think the friendships are going anywhere. Rather than like a high school girlfriend group that's 30 people, I think I could see that how it separates really quickly after high school, and one girl may never talk to a girl. Like me and my friends from high school still talk all the time, and I haven't seen some of them in couple months now. So.
Do you think COVID made that stronger because you guys were in it together like that?
Yeah, probably. I would say yes, just because we were all together. But
I just noticed, my observation, having these 2 sons that I have, is Grayson and his high school friends were forced to hang out a lot longer than normal. And even the ones that did go away right away, like in Georgia, they would say to me, like, you've met Dalton and Sam. They would say it was like being in prison. Like, they didn't meet anyone. You couldn't do anything. The doors were, all that kind of stuff. So I've noticed that he and his friends, and yes, this could just be because that's who they are, have stayed tight. Nolan has not had the same experience at all. Because, bam, he hit the ground running. Like, he left 2 months after high school, and he was on to you guys, and that was that.
Yeah.
So that's what I noticed. So I'm always curious about that. Is that one of the benefits or not of COVID, that you guys kept your high school guys a little bit tighter?
I'll reference my brother a little bit here too. I mean, you're right it keeps you closer, but I think it's harder if you don't have that group going into it. So my brother is junior now in high school. He's a little bit more introverted than a lot more introverted than I am. And I would kind of compare them to, like, I don't know how Grayson and Nolan are outside of you guys, but they feel similar to how the 2 of us feel. Like Grayson's more outgoing and Nolan's a little more, but like once you get to talk to them, they're very like
they're fine. Yeah.
So my brother didn't really have the friend group going into COVID like that, where he had like kids he would play video games with, or kids he played sports with, kids he hangs out with and says hi to at school. But like me and my friends would hang out every night we didn't have school, like Friday, Saturday, even Sundays we're hanging out. And he doesn't really have that. And I think part of that is just because of COVID, because they didn't have the chance to go meet kids. Like, you're not like going to house parties, basketball games or whatever and hanging out with kids.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I had that before, and that allowed me to.
And it just
keep going. Continues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed with guys, probably your brother's age or like younger than Nolan, is that if they lost freshman, sophomore year of high school, they lost high school, period.
It's also probably a little different here. So I would say like Nolan's age kids, and maybe a year younger or 2 like that, is closer to like my brother. Because your school systems here probably are a little different than ours. We have 4 elementary schools that feed into 1 junior high, which feed into like a high school like of 3 different or middle schools. So middle school is kind of where you get the friend groups, and that's where it starts. And like that's when travel sports starts, like for all these. So that's kind of how you get. So that was when he was COVID. So that is where I think he lost the disconnect a little.
Totally. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So when I went to go do research for you guys about this, like, surely some scientist somewhere has like said, what happened to the high school class of 2020?
Yeah.
You guys just were forgotten. And there's a lot of information about like the college class of 2020 because they graduated and there's no jobs or anything, but nothing about you guys. But the one thing that did come out is like that the academics labeled the loss of your freshman year and like graduation, all that, a trauma. Would you say that's too strong of a word, or would you say it's a trauma?
The academics loss?
No, the academic scientists, they say that you suffered a trauma.
I don't know if it's a direct trauma or like necessarily, but I could see how it leads to trauma because you're seeing kids younger than you and older than you kind of live out things that you would have liked to do, or now they're getting these jobs, and whereas you feel like had certain thing gone a different way, I can see how it causes trauma. Wouldn't
that
say
makes sense. Yeah,
it's a direct trauma though, but especially with social media and how people try to portray themselves now, I could see how it causes a lot of issues, and it's hard, like just as anyone, like to keep your own social image positive when everyone around you appears to be doing better than you, when you know that's not necessarily true.
Right. So you guys were the first, like you, like 23, 22, 21, you guys were the first digital natives. You're kind of like the elder Gen Z. Mm-hmm. So you were digital natives, but when you guys got phones, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of what I've observed in these interviews, maybe it was middle school, beginning of high school. Yeah. So you got phones, but the apps were not what they are now.
No.
Yeah, you were on Snap, you were on Instagram, but it did not control your life at all.
No.
You did not doom scroll or rot, as I call it, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you were still going out and doing stuff. Like you said, hanging with your friends and all that kind of stuff. What role do you feel like social media plays for you now? Like, what are you on? Do you use it for anything?
I use it for everything. And I think... So I got a phone 3 or something, but I'm diabetic. I don't know if I've...
Yeah, I knew that.
This,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'll say that anyway.
Yeah.
So I got a phone for that originally. And just so if I ever needed to communicate with my parents or whoever, like that was kind of the biggest concern, is as I got older, I was starting to be more independent, in case anything ever happened. And I would say that has caused me to be very dependent on my phone, just because like, even if my parents don't, like if they're asking me something normal, they get nervous when I don't respond, because so naturally when they send me something or they call me, I do my best to respond. I'm still not very good at it, but
your poor mom.
I know. I
you're
always
aware.
Forget.
You're good. You're aware.
I forget after, like, I don't respond for an hour. And she's like, "Hello," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I was doing whatever." Yeah, because I forget now. But that was kind of, I feel like, what caused the phone addiction for me. Is that was
makes
a big
sense.
Part of it. Yeah,
you had to have an awareness.
Yes, and obviously there's TikTok, Twitter, or whatever. I use all this stuff, which doesn't help, but.
So you are on TikTok.
Yes.
I find like half of the people aren't and refuse, and half the people are.
My thought process with it, well, it's not thought process. I know it's bad, and I am not going to try and justify it.
No.
The funny part I see is people who hate TikTok and will always stand against it will just use another form, YouTube or Instagram, and do the same exact thing. So I'm like, I'm not going to try and like act like I'm better than people by not using TikTok. I know it's bad, and I'm aware of it, but...
Talk to me about dating and social media and all that, and how maybe COVID affected it or didn't affect it. And I can give you a little background on what I'm asking, or you can just...
Sure, yeah. Give me a little background.
Okay. So what I've found in interviewing, especially some of the guys, this is what I heard. Some of the guys were like, well, first of all, you couldn't really date in COVID. And if you did try to date, you never knew if you asked what the girl was going to be like, if she was going to freak out. Oh, she was like a COVID whatever.
Yeah.
Or if she didn't care or whatever. But, so push dating online way sooner than you guys should ever be online dating.
Yeah.
And they were like, also, you porn. Like, like you don't have to do anything. You don't need to work that hard to get what you need.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's the best way to do it, whatever. For girls, they were like, yeah, online dating. But they were also like, nobody asks anymore.
Yeah.
Like, ask you out, approaches you in a bar. Several of the girls I interviewed that went to like Georgia were like, no one's ever talked to me.
Yeah.
In a bar. No one's ever even approached me. So those are the two different viewpoints I've gotten.
The last part, I like, no one is approaching you. I think a lot of that too is people are scared. Like guys are very scared to not necessarily like force the matter. That feels like the wrong word, but to make the first step, just because with all the sexual assault stuff that's coming out, it's become a very concerning issue, just because even if you do everything right in the moment, like later, if she feels like it wasn't right, I don't know. I'm not going to.
No, people have brought that up too. Like, it's scary now to be a guy.
And I don't even want to try and like belittle women in the sense of they're making up, because it's not fair. But a lot of that is really happening, but that doesn't make it any better for the normal guy. Like, there is obviously very bad guys who want to take advantage of people, which is horrible, but I think it makes the normal guy equally as scared as it does girls, because you don't want to be the guy who gets stood up in a bar and looks like the idiot who just got a drink thrown in their face. Not because, for whatever reason.
Right, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not how, it doesn't seem like it's how it's done anymore, so it makes it that much harder. That's
part of it, and I think the online dating is very like, it's because there's bots, there's all these AI, there's the creeps, like it's a very interesting dynamic. And I think between social media and then all the other factors, it gets very...
So one of the things that I came across in reading about all this stuff and trying to study up and figure out what I was going to ask you guys is that you guys, your generation, is having a hell of a lot less sex than we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has a lot to do with what you're talking about. Like, the only place we could go was the bar to meet people, or, intramural sports, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, you went to the fraternity parties or you went to the bar.
You talked to,
and you talk to people.
Yeah. I feel like it's just people are very timid on both sides, male and female. Like, girls don't want to be that girl and guys don't want to be that guy, not that guy. But
I know what you mean.
Yeah, they don't want to be the guy who screws up. So it's especially like fraternities now. Like, if, say, for example, I got a sexual assault case, the fraternity goes down with me, and I don't want to be the guy who brings the fraternity.
That brother.
Yeah. So it's a very slippery slope that you're playing, and you really have to consider risk reward and all things. So the
past 4 years have thrust a lot of social issues into your world. Like, I mean, immediately after, I don't know how this was in Chicago for you personally, like where the dynamic of where you lived compared to where we live. But like, it was COVID, then it was like Black Lives Matter, then it was the Me Too movement, then it's Roe versus Wade, and now it's all this, Hamas and the war in Israel and all that kind of stuff. Has all of that happening made you a little bit more aware, a little bit more of an activist, or desensitized you?
I kind of try to stay out of it. So obviously, Chicago specifically is very liberal, and I kind of live in a more conservative. Even in Chicago, my suburb is very much more conservative than the city is. So like, it's almost night and day. You can see the difference, and I kind of try to stay out of it just because I see both sides of the media. Like, even just watching CNN versus Fox News, you see the same story being told in completely different manners. So I kind of learned to see past the drama of it and try and take it for what it is. So I don't know. I don't think I ever really cared about it before because I was so young, but I tried not to get involved. And I know what's actually happening is not going to be what I'm learning. And I try to take from both sides, kind of be as moderate as I can. Because I know how extreme both sides can be when they're trying to tell a story. So
right. And that was something a few people brought up when I asked this question. They were like, the thing that we're good at is discerning. And they said they feel like people my age and older don't know how to discern because we were used to getting our news from one place.
Yeah.
And you guys are very aware that you're being told different stories from different sides.
For what it is, like true or false, like I think that's one of the good things about social media is like even TikTok is like you can scroll and get a video and it's very right leaning and it's telling you the same. Then the next video is a story, but the complete opposite side of it. So I think that is one of the good things of social media is you have all these different outlooks. The hard part is people aren't able to see what's true or what's real and what's not. There's people who are obviously trolling or whatever, and they're making up these stories to prove a point or convince people of it. And I think that's where the disconnect is they don't know what's real and what's not. So I think the hard part is being able to, see what is true and what's not.
What do you think older people, misunderstand about 22, 23-year-olds today?
I don't know. I would say I think it's hard for them to understand the emotions of not even 22, 23 specifically, just kids in general. Like between social media and like all of the expectations to do exactly how you guys did in the world, it makes it seem very attainable because everyone was able to buy a house when they were 26, 27. Whereas now I feel like it's not as easy as simple. And get a job out of college. And obviously, if you work hard, that's attainable, but it's not as easy as it used to be. And I think that is emotionally taxing for the kids. And I think it's hard for really anyone to understand other emotions, but the older people in general, understanding younger kids' emotions is tough. And I think you've probably learned that as a parent, but you see like it's very different than emotions that kids feel that you probably felt at that age or even now. Like,
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we kind of did you guys a little bit of a disservice, not intentionally, but we were told, well, if you just do this, this, and this, then you'll have this, this, and this. And so that's what we, at least my friends and I, have done for our kids.
Yeah.
Well, if you get good grades and but I feel like the stakes have gotten so much higher for you guys. We just had to go to school and get good grades. I mean, and not even that, you could still get into pretty much wherever you wanted unless you're trying to go Ivy.
Yeah.
For you guys, I mean, dear God, the resume you have to have, the AP classes, whatever, and still we're like, if you do this, you get into good college. If you get into good college and you do well and you network and you do this, then you're going to get a job. And then if you get a job, you'll be able to buy a house and I just feel like none of that's true anymore.
Yeah.
And I look at my sons and I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to work. It doesn't work anymore. So how do we help you guys? You know?
Yeah.
It's just changing so fast. So last question. What, Gavin, are you going to do with your one big life? So when you're my age and you look back, what do you want to say? Check, I did it.
I don't know. That's kind of what I mentioned earlier is I try not to look too far in advance. I mean, obviously you have to try and plan and be prepared, but I try not to set expectations 20 years from now. Like I would hope I can look back and be satisfied with what I did. Like right now, if I passed away right now, I could say I lived a happy life and I'm satisfied. So similarly, in 50 years, the same thing. That's probably what I try not to
let it come.
Yeah. Just go day by day. And
awesome.
Take everything for what it is.
So that all starts in May for you, huh?
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for doing this for me.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Have a good time.
Thanks for listening to Laying Fallow. Be sure to listen to the rest of the episodes, and to learn more and see the portraits from both 2020 and 2024, head over to my website, www.donnavonbruning.com, or to my Instagram, @DonnaVonBruning.